She told me, "You have nothing about my father's house." She had 6 years to plan. I had 6 weeks to destroy everything she built. Part 1. The beginning. She was so nice at first. Kind smile. Went to church. Made my dad happy. I thought he deserved happiness after the divorce. I didn't know I was welcoming a predator into his life. I need to start from the beginning, because that's the only way any of this makes sense. My parents divorced when I was 18. It wasn't ugly, no screaming matches, no custody battles, no using me as a weapon. They just grew apart over 20 years of marriage, and one day my mom sat me down and explained that sometimes love changes shape, and theirs had changed into something that wasn't working anymore. She moved to another state to be closer to her sister. My dad stayed in the house where I grew up, the one he'd bought when I was 3 years old. The one with the oak tree in the backyard that he and I had planted together for my 5th birthday. I stayed close with my dad. He was a good father, the kind who coached my baseball team even though he knew nothing about baseball when he started, the kind who helped me with college applications and drove 8 hours to visit me at school, the kind who answered the phone at 2 a.m. when I was stressed about finals and just listened. He wasn't perfect, but he was present. He was mine. After the divorce, I worried about him. He rattled around in that big house alone, and I could hear the loneliness in his voice when we talked. He dated a little, nothing serious. He seemed content but not happy, if that makes sense. Like he'd accepted that this was just how things would be now. Then, 8 years ago, he met her. He called me on a Tuesday night, and I could hear something different in his voice. Lighter. Younger, almost. "I met someone," he said. "At church, if you can believe it. Her name is, well, you'll meet her. She's wonderful. Fine. She actually listens when I talk." I was happy for him. Genuinely happy. My dad deserved someone who made him feel that way. I met her a month later. She was 43 then, attractive, well-dressed, warm in a way that felt practiced, but I didn't notice that at the time. She complimented our family photos, asked about my job, touched my dad's arm in that comfortable way that couples do. My dad watched her like she was something precious. I remember thinking, good. He found someone good. They got married after a year of dating. Small ceremony at the church where they met. I was the best man. I gave a toast about how my dad deserved happiness and how glad I was he'd found it. She hugged me afterward and said, "I'm so lucky to have such a wonderful stepson." I believed her. The first year was fine. Normal, even. Sunday dinners at the house, holidays together, the awkward but genuine process of blending lives. She seemed to genuinely care about my dad. He seemed healthier, happier, more like the man I remembered from before the divorce. Then things started to shift. It was subtle at first. Small comments that seemed innocent in isolation. "Your son visits a lot," she mentioned once when I stopped by on a Wednesday. "I just mean, we're newlyweds. We need couple time too." I understood. I backed off a little. Waited for invitations instead of just showing up. The invitations got less frequent. "Why does he need money for his car repairs?" she asked my dad once, not knowing I could hear from the other room. "He's an adult. He should handle his own problems." My dad had offered to help me with an unexpected repair bill. It was the kind of thing he'd always done, not because I asked, but because he wanted to. After that conversation, he seemed embarrassed when he gave me the check. I told him I didn't need it, even though I did. I didn't want to cause problems. "Family dinner this weekend?" I'd ask. "Oh, I'm so tired," she'd say. "Maybe next month." The week has just been exhausting. Next month became the month after. Then the month after that. My dad started calling less. Our conversations got shorter. When I visited, she always seemed to have a headache, always seemed to need my dad for something, always seemed to position herself between us somehow. I noticed. Of course I noticed. But I told myself I was being paranoid. She was his wife. She was allowed to want time with her husband. I was an adult. I didn't need to be attached to my dad's hip. If she made him happy, that was what mattered. I backed off. Gave them space. Called less. Visited less. Exactly what she wanted. Update 1. The changes, 3 years in. 6 years. She spent 6 years slowly cutting every rope that connected him to people who loved him. By the time I realized what was happening, he was drowning alone. Year 3 was when I should have known something was seriously wrong. I stopped by unannounced one Saturday. I was in the area, wanted to surprise him, maybe catch a game together. When I pulled into the driveway, the garage door was open, and the space where my dad's classic car always sat was empty. That car was a 1969 Camaro that had been my grandfather's. My dad inherited it as a rusted shell, and when I was 16, we spent an entire summer restoring it together. Every weekend, side by side in the garage, learning as we went. It was the best summer of my life. That car wasn't just a car, it was a monument to something between us, something real. "Dad, where's the Camaro?" I asked when he came to the door. He looked away. "I sold it." "You, what?" "We needed money for house renovations," he said. His voice was flat, rehearsed. It was just sitting there. Not practical. She appeared behind him, hand on his shoulder. "It was the responsible choice," she said. "Classic cars are a young man's hobby." He sold his classic car. The one we restored together when I was 16. He loved that car. She made him sell it, and I didn't even ask why. I should have asked. But I didn't. I just nodded, swallowed the lump in my throat, and told myself it was his decision. His car. His life. I didn't have the right to question it. Year 4. My birthday dinner. I'd been doing them at the same restaurant since I was 25, just me, my dad, and whoever else wanted to come. My dad had never missed one. "I'm so sorry," he said over the phone, 3 days before. "Your stepmother has anxiety about restaurants. It's been really bad lately. I can't leave her alone. Can she come?" "I don't mind." "She wouldn't be comfortable." "Okay, well, can I come to you? We could do dinner at the house." "It's not a good time. The house is a mess. Maybe we could do something next month." We didn't do something next month. Or the month after. Year 5. I finally got him to meet me for coffee, just the two of us. When he walked into the cafe, I almost didn't recognize him. He'd lost weight, not in a healthy way. His clothes hung off him. His hair had gone completely gray, and not the distinguished silver I'd expected. He looked tired in a bone-deep way, the kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. He looked older than 57. He looked older than his own father had at 70. He looked smaller, diminished, like someone had taken my father and gently squeezed the life out of him over years. "Dad, are you okay?" "Fine, fine. Just tired. You know how it is." I tried to talk to him, really talk, but he kept glancing at his phone. She was texting him every few minutes. Finally he said he had to go, she needed him for something, he'd call me later. He didn't call. I tried calling him. She answered. "He's resting. I'll have him call you back." He never called back. I drove to the house. She met me at the door, smile fixed in place. "He's not feeling well. Now isn't a good time. I just want to see him for a minute." I said he's resting. Her eyes were cold. "I'll let him know you stopped by." I stood there on the porch of the house where I grew up, being turned away like a stranger. And I let it happen. I turned around and left. I told myself I was respecting his marriage, his space, his choices. I was abandoning him. Update 2. The discovery, 6 years in. When I found him in that back bedroom, thin and sick, I didn't recognize my own father. The man who coached my baseball team, who seemed so strong. She made him small. She made him afraid in his own home. The call came on a random Thursday evening. I didn't recognize the number, but something made me answer. "Is this Michael's son?" An older man's voice, tentative. "Yes." "Who is this?" "I'm Frank. Your dad and I worked together for 20 years. We used to golf every Sunday before." He paused. "Before he got remarried." I hadn't heard my dad mention Frank in years. "Something's wrong with your father," Frank said. "He called me this morning. First time in 3 years. He sounded confused, scared. He said he needed help, that he didn't know who else to call. Then he said something like, 'She's coming,' and hung up. I tried calling back. No answer. Then a woman answered and said he was fine and couldn't talk and hung up on me. My blood went cold. "I don't want to cause trouble," Frank continued, "but that didn't sound like my friend. That sounded like someone who's in trouble." I thanked him. I hung up. I got in my car. When I arrived at the house, her car was in the driveway. I knocked on the door. She answered, face perfectly composed. "Oh, what a surprise. Your father's sleeping. Come back another time. I need to see him. He's asleep. I don't want to wake." I pushed past her. I'm not proud of it, but I did it. She grabbed at my arm, saying something about calling the police, but I was already inside, already moving through the house I grew up in. The house looked different. Cleaner somehow, but sterile. All the family photos were gone. The bookshelves where my dad kept his collection, empty. I barely recognized it. "He's in the back bedroom," she called after me, her voice shifting from outrage to something else. "Something careful. He gets confused sometimes. Don't believe everything he says." I found him in the small bedroom at the end of the hall, the one that used to be my room when I was young. He was lying on a twin bed that looked like it came from a thrift store. The master bedroom, I'd later learn, had been hers for over a year. When he saw me, he started to cry. "Dad." He looked like he'd aged 20 years since I'd seen him last. Thin to the point of frailty. Pale. His hands shook as he reached for me. "You came," he whispered. "I didn't know if you'd come." "Of course I came. Dad, what's happening? Are you okay?" "She took everything." His voice was barely audible. "The house is in her name now. My savings. Everything. She wants me gone." "What do you mean, gone?" "She said I have 30 days to get out. It's her house now. She showed me the papers." He gripped my hand with surprising strength. "I signed them. Years ago. She said it was for tax purposes. I didn't understand what I was signing. I trusted her." She appeared in the doorway. Still calm. Still composed. "He gets confused," she said. "It's his condition. He imagines things." "What condition?" "He hasn't been well. Memory problems. Paranoia. It's very sad." "Has he seen a doctor?" She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "He doesn't like doctors." I looked at my father. At his trembling hands, his hollowed cheeks, the fear in his eyes. "I'm taking him to a doctor right now." "I don't think." I wasn't asking permission. Update 3. The investigation. My dad kept apologizing. I was so stupid. He wasn't stupid. He was lonely after the divorce, and she saw that. She used his loneliness like a weapon. That's not his fault. That's her crime. The emergency room doctor was the first to say it out loud. "Your father has type 2 diabetes that's been untreated for at least 2 years, probably longer. His blood sugar levels are dangerous. He's also severely anemic, likely from nutritional deficiency." "Has he been eating properly?" I don't know." The doctor looked at me with careful eyes. "When was his last medical checkup?" I called my stepmother from the hospital hallway. She answered on the first ring. "He hasn't seen a doctor in 2 years? How is that possible?" "He didn't want to go. I can't force him. He's diabetic. He needs medication. He needs monitoring. I'm not his nurse. I'm his wife. If he didn't want to take care of himself, that's his choice." I hung up before I said something I'd regret. Over the next few weeks, while my dad recovered in my apartment, I started digging. I'd always been good with research, it was part of my job, but this was different. This was personal. The house transfer was first. I got copies of the deed from the county recorder's office. My father had owned that house outright for 22 years. Then, 4 years ago, he'd signed a quitclaim deed transferring ownership to his wife. Just her. Not joint ownership. Complete transfer. The notary's name was on the document. I tracked her down. She remembered the signing. "The wife scheduled it," she said. The husband seemed quiet. I asked him if he understood what he was signing, and he said yes, but the wife answered most of the questions. She said it was for estate planning purposes. Next, the bank accounts. My father had always been frugal, a saver. When I was growing up, he'd talked about the importance of financial security, of having a nest egg. I knew he'd had substantial savings. I got him to sign authorizations so I could access his account records. What I found made me sick. His primary savings account had held over $180,000 3 years ago. It had been drained in increments over 36 months. Small withdrawals at first, a few hundred here, 1,000 there. Then larger ones. The last withdrawal, 6 months ago, emptied it completely. His retirement accounts were worse. He'd changed the beneficiary from me to her 2 years ago. He'd also taken early withdrawals with massive tax penalties. The money went into a separate account. In her name only. The truck he'd driven for 15 years, sold. The proceeds deposited into her account. His tools, his fishing gear, his golf clubs, sold piece by piece at estate sales and online. She'd been systematically liquidating his life while keeping him isolated from everyone who might notice. I found emails she'd sent from his account, emails he swore he never wrote, pushing away friends, declining invitations, saying he needed space. She'd been cutting his connections one by one, methodical as a surgeon. The neighbors said they noticed him changing, getting quieter, disappearing. But no one said anything. Everyone assumed someone else would help. No one did. Until almost too late. I talked to Frank, the old friend who'd called me. He'd tried reaching my dad for years after being pushed away. Had even driven by the house a few times. Never saw my father outside anymore. He figured my dad just didn't want to be friends anymore. It hurt, but he respected it. I talked to people from their church. They'd stopped attending 2 years ago. She'd told people my dad was too ill for services. No one had visited. No one had checked. She'd isolated him completely. And then, once there was no one left to see, she'd started taking everything he had. Update 4. The fight. She looked me in the eyes and said, "I have rights. You have nothing." About my father's house. The house where I grew up. Where he lived for 25 years. She'd been there 6 years and she said I have nothing. I confronted her at the house, 1 week after I'd taken my father out of there. I had a folder full of bank records, property documents, medical records. I wanted her to know that I knew. That the game was over. She invited me in. Offered me coffee. Sat across from me at the kitchen table like we were discussing the weather. "I know what you did," I said. "And what did I do? You isolated him from everyone who cared about him. You manipulated him into signing away his house. You drained his bank accounts. You neglected his health until he was too sick to fight back. And now you're trying to throw him out of his own home." She smiled. It was the first time I'd seen her drop the mask completely, and what was underneath was cold and empty. "That house is mine legally. Your father signed everything willingly. He was competent when he signed. You can check. No one held a gun to his head." She leaned back in her chair. "He's sick and confused now, yes. But he wasn't then. He made his choices. He trusted you. And I'm his wife. His legal wife. I have rights." She paused. "You're just his son from a failed marriage. You have nothing." The words hit like a physical blow. "I have nothing. I'm going to fight this," I said. "I'm going to get everything back. You can try." She stood up, smoothing her skirt. "But I'll file a restraining order if you keep harassing me. I'll tell the court you're a disturbed, unstable man trying to manipulate his confused father for financial gain. Who do you think they'll believe? A devoted wife caring for her sick husband, or a son who barely visited for 6 years?" That was the worst part. The sharpest cut. Because she was right that I'd barely visited. That I'd backed off. That I'd given her exactly the space she needed to destroy my father's life. 30 days, she said. He has 30 days to get his things. After that, I'm changing the locks. And there's nothing you can do about it. I left. I sat in my car in the driveway of the house where I grew up, and I called an attorney. The attorney I found specialized in elder financial abuse. She'd seen cases like this before, too many times. "This is a textbook isolation and exploitation pattern," she told me after reviewing my documentation. She spent years cutting him off from support systems, making him dependent on her, then systematically transferred his assets once he was vulnerable. We see it more often than people think. We filed a lawsuit to void the property transfer based on undue influence and financial exploitation. We reported her to Adult Protective Services. We filed complaints with the State Attorney General's office. She hired an aggressive defense attorney. Her position was simple. My father was competent when he signed the documents, the marriage was legitimate, and I was a greedy son trying to steal my stepmother's legally acquired property. But the evidence was overwhelming. We had the pattern of isolation, documented in emails, witnessed by friends, confirmed by neighbors. We had the financial records showing systematic asset stripping. We had medical records showing 2 years of untreated illness. We had testimony from the notary about my father's demeanor during the signing. And we had my father himself, clearer-headed now that he was being treated and fed properly, ready to testify about what she'd done to him. Other witnesses came forward once word got out. A woman from church who'd seen my stepmother intercept calls meant for my dad. A neighbor who'd heard her screaming at him through the walls. Frank, ready to testify about being pushed away. My mother, who tried to stay in touch with my dad and had been told repeatedly that he didn't want to hear from her. A pattern of behavior. A plan executed over 6 years. A predator who'd found lonely prey. Update 5. The resolution. The trial took 3 days. My father testified, quietly but clearly, about how she'd made him feel. How she'd convinced him that everyone else had abandoned him, that she was the only one who truly cared. How she'd said the house transfer was routine, just paperwork, nothing to worry about. How she'd gradually taken over everything, the finances, the cooking, the phone, his whole life, until he didn't know how to function without her. "Did you love her?" the attorney asked him. "I thought I did," he said. "She made me feel wanted when I was lonely. But looking back, I don't think she ever saw me as a person, just as something to take from." Her attorney tried to paint my father as confused, unreliable, manipulated by his estranged son. But the evidence was too clear. 6 years of isolation. 6 years of financial drain. 6 years of systematic exploitation. The judge's ruling was decisive. The property transfer was void, executed under undue influence, while my father was in a vulnerable state and isolated from anyone who could have protected him. The house was to be returned to my father's name immediately. She was ordered to repay the drained savings, over $200,000 in total. She didn't have it, of course. She'd spent most of it. But the judgment would follow her forever. Criminal charges were filed separately. Elder financial abuse. Exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Theft by deception. Her attorney negotiated a plea deal. She wouldn't serve jail time, she was a first-time offender with no criminal history, but she'd have a felony record, supervised probation, and mandatory restitution. She filed for divorce the day after the verdict. With no assets left to claim, she got nothing. My dad moved back into his house last month. Epilogue: the long road back. Every Sunday I drive over for dinner now. We watch baseball like we used to. He's getting stronger. But sometimes he stops mid-sentence and looks scared, like he's waiting for someone to tell him he's wrong. Those moments break my heart. We won. On paper, we won everything. My dad has his house back. The house where I grew up, where we planted that oak tree together, where he should have been safe all along. His savings will come back, slowly, through garnished wages and seized tax returns, but they'll come back. She faces consequences. Justice, such as it is. But I look at him, and I see a man 10 years older than he should be. She stole something no court can return. She stole years. She stole his confidence. She stole the father I remembered and left someone more fragile, someone who second-guesses himself constantly, who apologizes for having opinions, who flinches when someone raises their voice. We got the house back. But I'm still grieving the dad I lost somewhere in those 6 years when I should have fought harder. He sits on the porch now, the porch where he used to hold court with neighbors and friends, and he's quieter than he used to be. Sometimes he starts to say something and then stops, like he's checking whether he's allowed. "I wasted 6 years with her," he told me last Sunday. "I missed so much time with you." "You're here now," I said. "That's what matters." But it's not the whole truth, is it? The truth is that some things can't be unwasted. Some time can't be unspent. The baseball games we didn't watch together, the dinners we didn't share, the phone calls I didn't make because I was giving him space, those are gone. She took them. And I let her. That's the part one have to live with. I saw the signs. Year after year, I saw my father shrinking away, and I told myself it wasn't my place to interfere. I respected his marriage when I should have protected my father. I gave her space when I should have kicked down doors. He's not the same man. He may never be the same man. She broke something in him that 6 years of love and attention might not be able to fix. But we're trying. Every Sunday, dinner on the porch. Every week, a phone call just to talk about nothing. Every month, rebuilding the connection she severed. Frank came by last week, and they're planning to go fishing. My mom called, and they talked for an hour about nothing important, and it was the happiest I'd heard him sound in years. Some things you win in court. Some things you have to rebuild one Sunday dinner at a time. She's gone, but she left marks that don't fade easily. I got my father back. But I'll spend years helping him find himself again. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's what family is, not just being there for the good times, but staying for the long, slow work of putting someone back together after they've been broken. He fell asleep on the porch last Sunday, mid-sentence, the way old men do. I put a blanket over him and sat there watching the sun set over the backyard, over the oak tree we planted together 30 years ago. It's still standing. So is he. So am I. We'll be okay. It'll just take time. And I'll never, ever back off again. For anyone reading this who's worried about a parent, a friend, anyone, trust your instincts. The isolation is always the first sign. The cutting of ties, the excuses, the "he doesn't want to see anyone" explanations. If someone is disappearing from their own life, Don't give them space. Don't respect the boundaries being built around them. Those boundaries aren't theirs. They're cages. Fight. Even when it's awkward. Even when you might be wrong. Because if you're right, fighting is the only thing that saves them. I almost waited too long. Don't make my mistake.